What is up, NFL fans? Welcome back to the podcast titled For Your Viewing Pleasure. This is where we preview the upcoming week of games. Now that week 8 is officially over, we start to turn the page and look ahead to week 9 in the NFL. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Wesley Coleman. Wesley, what's going on?
I'm good, man. We're at the halfway point of the season now, and I actually think this is the best slate of games that we're going to talk about as far as just games all over the place that are interesting for different reasons.
Yeah, this is my first time looking at this slate of games. Obviously, the Steelers played on Monday night, so we're trying to figure out everything. Steelers are on a bye. That's neither here nor there. So they're 6-2 going into week 10. But let's take a look at the primetime games like we always do. Thursday night, I don't know what this one's like. Jets and Texans in New Jersey, not New York, in New Jersey. Then you go to Sunday. And this is okay. This next week that they have the Germany game. There's no European game this week. Sunday night football, Colts at Vikings. Monday night, Buccaneers, Chiefs. So while I do agree with you that there are some games that are attractive, I don't think this is a great primetime slate. You agree or disagree?
I'm going to disagree just because maybe if you're just talking about it's teams in first place playing each other, I agree. This could be the end of the Jets.
That's true.
They've got Devontae Adams now. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers can get anybody else fired and blame this on anyone else. He might be running out of people. If they and the Texans have been mid, their games they've won have been close, even against the Colts this last week. If the Jets lose this game at home, they're 2-7. They're not making the playoffs.
Right.
So we can go. And if they're not making the playoffs and Aaron Rodgers is getting older and worse, like what motivation do the Jets have to play Aaron Rodgers the second half of the season? Or what motivation does Aaron Rodgers have to play? And then just kind of going through, Colts Vikings is interesting. I think that the Colts are finally going to bench Anthony Richardson, who should.
You think they're going to do that?
Got to.
Well,
just have to. Not because of his play. Last week I said they should because it's a disservice to the team and this great roster they have to play him. But when he gets the team to the red zone, leaves like he has a left leg injury, and then says, "Oh no, I just got tired. I told the coach I need a break." I've never heard that. That's never happened in any sport. And then he admitted it. He said the thing out loud that I couldn't believe he got the team to the red zone and brought the backup in to take a snap so he could have a breather.
Yeah,
I was baffled by it.
And the play that he got, the play that he tapped himself out and said, "I need a break." They just ran the ball. So it's like, dude, just stay in the game and hand the ball off. Get your breather. I can't believe he said it. Like you could do that and say, "Yeah, I felt like I might have tweaked something in my leg. If it turns out it was good, I was able to come back in," and no one would be talking about it. Instead, brutal honesty, I guess. All right, but what about Monday night, Buccaneers and Chiefs?
This would have been great 2 weeks ago. But with we know Evans isn't going to play. We know Godwin's out for the year. The Buccaneers have some problems. If they really lean into running the ball, like they can make this competitive because the Chiefs, even though they're 7-0, haven't been just killing teams. Patrick Mahomes looked bad against the Raiders, and they still beat them significantly. The Buccaneers need to run the ball, and Baker Mayfield needs to only throw it to his teammates. If they handle the hose, this could be a close game. But no, this isn't interesting. Like it fell off when the Buccaneers went to 4-4.
All right, I keep reminding myself there might be people that are showing interest in the show for the very first time. And so what we do is we break this down, not just game by game. We don't talk about every game. We break it down into categories. The first category is must-see TV. So these are the games that you're thinking about. Last week, the must-see TV game was Bears and Commanders, which certainly lived up to the billing by the end of the game. That was pretty crazy. But let's focus on week 9 and let's not look backwards. What is your must-see or one of your must-see games this week, Wesley?
Well, the Lions and the Packers the Lions look like they've got to be the NFC favorite at least, if not NFL favorite. And one thing that I talked to you about last week is that I thought that Dan Campbell would run up the score on the Titans, and he did. And I think this is a statement game. If the Lions want to tell everybody they're the number one team in the NFC, go into Green Bay, go to Lambeau Field. Jordan Love's looking right. Like he's come back from his injuries, looking like whatever Jordan Love's supposed to look like. Put it on this Packers team at Lambeau Field. I think it's a great game.
Is Jordan Love injured? Did he get hurt last week? I thought I saw that come across my screen at some point, but I
I
don't know. I
I
thought it was
did
like a
not see that.
hamstring. Okay.
I just
Hopefully
normally
he's not.
I just normally like write it off to he's just not as good as people think. It said he avoided a serious groin injury.
All right, there you go. Perfect. Okay, so other games that are intriguing, must-see TV games. I'm going to go with Broncos Ravens. And who would have thought that the
Man,
Denver Broncos, and this is the team that couldn't do anything right at the beginning of the season. Bo Nix kind of looked, well, Ferris Bueller-ish, as Sean Payton said. And they've definitely righted the ship. They actually had some offensive output. We know their defense is good. And they're going to Baltimore to play a Ravens team that should have probably beat the Browns, yet couldn't get the job done. And they're now 5-3. What do you think about this game?
this is huge because the winner of this game is the 5 seed. It'll be sitting as the 5 seed. The Broncos are not going to come back and catch the Chiefs. Obviously, the Ravens are going to be a game behind the Steelers.
Yeah.
At least a half game, no matter what, because of the Steelers bye. So whoever wins this game is the 5th seed in the AFC, and then you're talking about having a favorable matchup in the first round of the playoffs on the road. And I don't think it's too early to talk about that. We're halfway through the season. There's we're kind of separating the winning teams and the losing teams right now. So this is huge. And I mean, Bo Nix is doing enough to not screw it up for the Broncos, who have a great defense.
Yes.
I'm interested to see, the best defense in football probably versus the most dynamic player, the most interesting, has different ways to beat you player, and Lamar Jackson. I'm not gonna say best, but I think there's a matchup here, and it's going to be really interesting. And after losing last week, the Ravens kind of almost have to win this.
Yes, this is a game Baltimore cannot lose. And the spread, and people they don't put too much credence into the spread. The early line is the Ravens are giving 9.5 points.
9.5.
9.5 points. I didn't do a double take. Like, there's no way it's really 9.5. But this is what people think about Bo Nix and the Broncos. And so the Broncos are going to have that chip on their shoulder. They're going to get to go in and say, look, no one's thinking we have a shot here. I'll tell you right now, I'll take the Broncos getting those points.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take those Broncos getting those points for sure, because their defense is good. The Broncos, and you said it, and I was going to bring it up anyways. I don't think at this juncture in the season, since we are a preview show, I don't think it's out of the realm to talk about, you know what? If these two teams are going to be vying for a postseason berth and they're tied, what's the number of the first tiebreaker? Head-to-head matchups. So if Baltimore were to somehow lose this game, and they stumble a little bit down the stretch and they don't win the AFC North, and they're tied with the Broncos, and the Broncos went into Baltimore and won, there you go. There's your tiebreaker. I don't think it's too early to talk about this type of stuff, and not just in this game and not just in this conference, but in the NFL and as an entire entity. So this will be interesting. This will be interesting to see. It's going to be a good barometer for Bo Nix and the Broncos to see if they're for real. I like what Sean Payton said after they beat the Panthers last week, is that was not a good offense that we played. And they're not. They're not. But still, it's going to be interesting.
Well, we've referenced it before. Sean Payton is petty, and the Panthers did not offer him a job, even though they kind of teased it, and they did not try to trade for him, even though they teased they were going to. That was all on purpose.
Oh my gosh, what a baby.
He's still holding that. Yeah,
he's such a child. All right. Anyways, any other must-see games you have on the schedule?
I'm going to say the Rams and the Seahawks, because the Rams could be tied for first place by winning this game. The 49ers have a bye week, and so I think the Cardinals lose to the Bears, but so the Rams and 49ers could be tied at 4-4 in first place of the NFC West, and you'd have the Cardinals and Seahawks both at 4-5.
Yeah.
And the Rams looked good last week. Crazy. They get two of the best, the duo wide receivers in football, get them both back, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and they look like the Rams again. Kyron Williams, I think, he scored a touchdown in 10 straight games, which is just crazy. Something for like that, a young guy. But I think it's real interesting because the winners basically controlling their own destiny in the division.
It is crazy. It's crazy that this division seems like it's just a toss-up right now, and I don't think it's gonna end that way. I do think San Francisco is eventually gonna rise to the top. I think the cream will eventually rise up, but I do think there's a chance that the NFC West has 2 playoff teams coming out of it, and it's gonna be out of that jumbled mess there. But, I don't see any other must-see games on the schedule. I do have a couple that would fit into some other categories. Is there any other game you wanted to mention here?
Nope.
Okay, good. Let's go to fantasy lineup games. This could be a one-sided thing. This could also be both teams taking a look at games that you would watch only for fantasy football purposes. Wesley, what do you have here?
It's the Dolphins and Bills.
Okay.
The we've been talking forever about you need to keep these Dolphins players on your roster, even though they weren't putting up points. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill have not been getting catches, and the Dolphins couldn't run the ball. They're the 2 great running backs that everybody drafted couldn't run the ball because you weren't worried about them throwing the ball. Tua being back now, I think he needed the to shake off some rust last week. I expect them to be back to a pretty good offense this week. Them and the Bills, both Keon Coleman's coming through, putting up numbers for the Bills. Not sure what Amari Cooper, if he's going to come into his own there, but both teams have quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs that you have to be watching.
I agree. I agree with that one. I'm going to go with a one-sided venture, and that is if you have any Philadelphia Eagles on your roster, they're going against the Jaguars. The Jaguars in 3 of their last 4 games have surrendered over 30 points a game. And Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, those are household names in fantasy football, and I think they're going to be able to produce. So in terms of the Jaguars, I wouldn't start anyone. They just lost Christian Kirk for the year. I want to say that the other rookie wide receiver, Brian
Thomas Jr. from LSU.
I think he's banged up as well. LSU, thank you. I wouldn't touch any Jaguars in this game, but the Eagles, if you got them on your roster, I start them. What about you? Any other ones?
Well, I think you start Evan Ingram for the Jaguars. If he's healthy,
Okay.
he's been I think up. If you just put the number of weeks he's played, he's been the most productive tight end. He just has missed a lot of games.
Right.
I'm going to we just mentioned it, the Rams and Seahawks. Again, the Rams, if you've been stashing Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and even Matthew Stafford, he's putting up numbers again. And then on the Seahawks, Geno Smith has thrown more passes than any quarterback in the NFL. He was going into last week, I think, leading the NFL in yardage, maybe. He's putting up numbers, but then they've got a couple running backs and a couple receivers that are putting up numbers as well. So there's quite a few players in that Rams Seahawks game that should be on your roster at least.
I want to ask you about fantasy production. It's a team that is difficult to gauge. They are electric on offense and they're electric putting up points, but it's really tough from a fantasy perspective to pick who's going to break out. And that's the Lions. Because you look at last week, they had a ton of return yards. They had a return score. I think Jared Goff only threw for like 80 some yards. And then sometimes it's David Montgomery that goes off. Sometimes it's Jahmyr Gibbs that goes off. Yep. Amon-Ra St. Brown might be their most consistent. Sam Laporta. They have a lot of weapons there, and they're going against Green Bay. Would you be looking at the Lions in this category?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you have either one of their running backs, you almost have to start them. But it's probably a struggle every week, because if you'll go through the week that they'll not score, and you'll not start on the next week, and they'll go off. It's I'm sure incredibly frustrating, and I get it. I look at the stats, and what Jared Goff is doing is insane. And I am not going to have him on my team. I just can't.
Fair enough.
I really thought, but just to lead into that, I really thought you were going to talk about the Falcons, who have all these names with Pitts and Bijan Robinson and Kirk Cousins and all, but you can't count on any of them either, because they might not hand the ball to Bijan Robinson at all. And Kyle Pitts is just a colossal disappointment in his career until last week when he completely blows up. So everybody will start him this week and he'll do nothing. But it's they've got that kind of thing too, where they've got 2 running backs that you don't know if it's Tyler Algier or Bijan Robinson or neither one of them. So
there's a lot of ups and downs, and this is what's weird, is that you don't have those players, it seems like this year, that are just consistent from a fantasy football production. It used to be like a Travis Kelce. You could put him in the lineup and he's going to produce. Not really. He's only had 1 touchdown. Look at a rookie, Marvin Harrison Jr. boy, talk about like he has a game where he's not catching the ball, and then the next game he goes for over 102 touchdowns or a touchdown. So it's really difficult. It's really difficult this year to see what's going to happen here. Any other thoughts on fantasy production before we move on?
No, just agreeing with the Marvin Harris thing. And then Malik Neighbors was the leading wide receiver in the NFL after 3 weeks. He's dealt with some injuries, but even coming back this week, I'm like, I mean, you watched it firsthand. I don't think he's bad at all, but Daniel Jones is not an NFL quarterback.
Daniel Jones didn't get a lot of help either.
Well, no, he doesn't have help.
Had two drops, and he had to drop the touchdown. He couldn't get 2 feet in. So Daniel Jones, is he an NFL quarterback? No. Should he be paid? Should he be paid the way he is? No. But at the same time, he played well enough for the team to actually be in that game on Monday night. So again, Giants, I'm not starting any receivers because of Daniel Jones. Yep. There you go. All right. This is the next one. I think there's a lot of games that would fall into this category for me. Sneaky good matchups, games that are not going to get a lot of attention from the national media. But if you watched them, they actually could be a pretty good game. What's the first game that stands out to you?
I mean, I hate them both, but the Cowboys and Falcons, I mean, it's my two least favorite teams in the NFL, but they both have names and pieces and like on offense that like they could put up big games. They could put up an exciting game and go back and forth. It just and they both really need to. The Falcons can take control of the NFC South with the Buccaneers falling off and then the Saints and Panthers being two of the worst teams in the league. And then the Cowboys, I mean, Washington and the Eagles are both kind of running away with the division, but if they want to get into the wild card race, the Cowboys need to get back in this, and then they play both of those teams again. So I think it's a really important game for both teams, and it could be fun. Like they've got a lot of names.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I'm going to go with Bears Cardinals. And you mentioned the Cardinals in the NFC West. The Chicago Bears are coming off of maybe one of the most deflating losses of the season for any team. And Caleb Williams, visibly and rightfully so, frustrated after the game. I always want to see what the response is. How does a team respond? You got a young quarterback, rookie quarterback. He's playing pretty good football. He's not playing great, but he's playing good football. How did they respond going on the road into Arizona? Arizona needs this game, but so do the Bears to keep their name in the mix in the NFC North. I'm going to be curious. I think this game could be surprisingly good. You agree?
Oh, for sure. And then we kind of talked about earlier with the other teams, but Arizona would be 5-4 and in first place in the NFC West.
Yeah.
In week 10, this far into the season, Arizona would be first place, which is just crazy because a lot of people kind of thought they were giving up and punting on this season by, nobody believing in Kyler Murray and new coach and getting rid of, Hollywood Brown and kind of stuff like that. It's like, what are they really even trying? And they've been a fun team to watch too.
Yeah.
I just on the Caleb Williams thing, I want to say I actually liked his response. I don't think he had like a whiny rookie.
No,
oh my God.
I agree.
I think he went in there and yelled at some people and told them like, we played too good to lose. I don't think he probably I don't think he singled somebody out, but somebody needs to single out Stevenson, who was talking to the crowd when the ball was snapped. And it's just one of the funniest sports things ever. So besides him, I really liked Caleb Williams' response. Like, he was disgusted, he was upset, and that's great for a rookie leader that he's willing to have what I thought was a mature upset response and call people out for it.
Yeah, no, this wasn't like the USC where he loses the game and he's crying on his mom's shoulder. This isn't that. This is not that. So I didn't. If I came off that way, I apologize.
No, I don't think you did. People have been retweeting that USC crying thing, and I thought it was a great mature response from a leader and quarterback.
Yeah.
You should be pissed, and you should call those people out. You should tell them that's not okay.
All right. Any others fall under sneaky good matchups?
Nah.
I've got one. I've got Chargers Browns. Why? Jameis Winston. We talked about him before we hit record. He is the gift that keeps on giving. And all of a sudden, Cleveland, somehow, some way, because of a ruptured Achilles tendon by Deshaun Watson, feels like they have hope. And so Jameis Winston's going to get the start again at home. And let's also not forget the other side of the docket, that the Chargers are 4-3. And if they want to keep any hope alive in the AFC playoff race and in that division, it's going to be tough in the division because the Chiefs are 7-0. But they're going to have to win these games. Like, you can't go to Cleveland and lose to a 2-6 Browns team if you want to be considered a legitimate threat in the conference. And so I think this is a game that could be sneaky good. Want to say quick shout out to, I don't know the lineman's name. You were watching the Saints game when the Saints guy had Herbert like wrapped up. Good for that guy for sticking up for his quarterback, man. That's what a lineman should do. So, any thoughts on this game?
I mean, I'm all in on the Jameis love and all. He's it's so funny the way he I don't know, everything he says with so much excitement. And it's a guy that people should get behind. I don't think Cleveland's going to get back any kind of playoff talk.
No.
I think they're too far down to that. But I think they're going to win some games. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. They've got some players, and now Nick Chubb coming back and getting healthier and healthier. Hopefully, it'll be fun. But I'll watch a Jameis game anytime.
All right, let's go to you can only watch one game. This is where if you had to just pick one, like you can only watch one game this week, this is the game you're choosing. What game are you picking this week in week 9?
I'm probably going to fall on the Lions Packers just because they are both in first place. They're both, NFC quote unquote, or not, sorry, they're fighting for first place. They're both, kind of NFC favorites right now with kind of what's happened with the 49ers. So I think it's a good early one to talk about, even though I hate the Packers and I don't like Jordan Love and don't understand his contract. But I think this will be the game to watch.
Now, if you like defensive football, I'm going to go with the game I has must see, and that's Broncos at Ravens. I think this could be, and again, I keep on telling everyone because everyone always thinks, well, it's the Ravens. Like they have a great defense. They have a good run defense this year. Their pass defense is one of the worst, if not the worst in the NFL. And so this is going to come down to, can the Denver defense stand up and slow down Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the running game? And can the Broncos and Bo Nix actually throw on that porous pass defense of Baltimore? I think it's going to be intriguing. I'm going to be watching as an AFC North guy, a fan of the Steelers. I want to see if the Ravens can drop 2 games in a row. That would be awesome. So that's who I'm going to go with. Could only watch one. So
I know it's only one, but
yeah.
I mentioned it sort of earlier, but it's not impossible that the Dolphins beat the Bills 42-21.
Yeah.
And then the Dolphins are all of a sudden the Dolphins again. Like it's not impossible. Like they're back to, if Tua doesn't get another concussion and plays the whole game, I mean, I assume he's going to throw on time and accurately because he can throw a football. And the Dolphins and Bills have gone back and forth, kind of beating each other kind of badly most of their time over the last couple of years. And that could be a really fun game. It could be a high scoring game. So again, you look at it and you go, oh, Dolphins 2-5, but they might be the Dolphins again, which we're supposed to have 10 wins this year. So that could still be a fun one to watch, even though they might be out of it.
It might be too little too late, but nonetheless, we'll see. All right, let's go to the dud of the week. This is the game that, oh my gosh, like unless you're a fan of this team, you are not watching this game. I'm going to go ahead and save you here, Wesley. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say Saints Panthers is just, for me, it's the dud. I apologize. You're a Saints guy, but they have dropped 6 in a row. The Panthers with Bryce Young, they're looking to trade Deontay Johnson. Adam Thielen has been rumored to be on the trade block. It's just it's
well,
bad.
Anybody trade for Adam Thielen?
I don't know, but that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. I swear, I'm hearing that people are interested in Adam Thielen at the trade deadline. But I don't know. But this game, there's not much appealing here. I don't know if Derek Carr's back, but if he isn't,
he will be.
Okay, so maybe a little bit more juice to this, but it's still not much for me. That's my dud of the week. What about you?
I mean, I think it's clearly the Patriots and Titans.
Okay.
This is coming off the Patriots, I don't know, biggest win in years, beating the Jets. I just think this is an awful game of 2 teams that, I mean, they're 2-6 versus 1-6, and you could not make me watch this game. I will have Red Zone on one TV, and I bet there's no highlights on Red Zone from this entire game.
Now you look at this, and like Steeler fans, Mason Rudolph has been the quarterback of the Titans during Will Levis's absence with injury, and there was a good portion of the Steeler fan base that thinks Mason Rudolph should have been the quarterback of this year. They're not saying that after last week. He turned into a pumpkin once again.
Well, I get where you're coming with the Saints and Panthers. There's going to be points scored in that game.
That's
like true. They're going to go over together. They're going to go over 30 points. this Titans Patriots game, I just can't imagine that happening.
Well, the over under right now is 37.5. I feel like
Bet
that
the
is
under.
I feel like that is really high for this game, to be honest. But
yes,
hey, I've been wrong before. All right, very good. This has been good. We have a lot of good games coming up. I hope this was a good primer for you, the listener or viewer out there, to get you ready for Week 9. But Wesley, where can we find your work on the New Orleans Saints and on social media?
Yeah, I'm covering the hapless Saints that need to fire their coach right now on the Dome Patrol podcast. You can find us on X at Dome Patrol PCast, or you can find me at Wesley13. Jeff, where can we find you in your Steelers coverage?
Yeah, I mean, I cover the coach that has never had a losing season. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, Wesley, but that's the thing.
Didn't you want him fired last year?
No, what
No,
you show me receipts where I wanted him fired. Show me the receipts, text messages. I swear, I'll put it all over social media. I never once said that ever. So I'm at the Steel Curtain Network. You can check us out, steelcurtainnetwork.com. Anywhere where you get your podcasts on any platform, just search Steel Curtain Network. And you can find me on Twitter at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. But that does it for us on For Your Viewing Pleasure. It's been a good show. Wesley, we'll talk to you next week, man. Take it easy.
Thank you, sir.